bit. I think we have some more people coming, but I also want to respect people's time. So I would just say whenever you want me to start, let me know and I'll get started.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started then. So welcome to Responsible Innovation, Leveraging AI for Good. And today we're kind of just gonna get a little bit of an update on the what we know about AI, what has changed, what has been updated. This is not a pro or con of AI. We're not gonna have that conversation, and I don't expect anybody, if you are on the fence about using I don't expect anyone to come out of this session an with a decision. This is more just additional information. We also have in a couple of weeks, I think, honey, we have Dominic doing a session. And if you're interested in this one, I would say definitely check out Dominic's session on AI as well. So to get started, let's just do quick introductions. We'll just go around the room and popcorn style. So starting off with me, my name is Charlie Hersman. My pronouns are he, him, and I am here with Break Free Technology Consulting. Ty, I'm gonna pick on you and make you go next.
You bet. I'm Ty Smart, VP of Sales over at Morel Inc., he, him pronouns. And I'll pass to Brandon since he's got his camera on.
I am Brandon Giles, they, he pronouns, and LB Collaborations is my business. I do facilitation and strategic planning. I'm going to pass to anybody who else is here. I see Alex.
Hi everyone. I'm Alex with BBook. I I will go ahead and pass to someone. Sorry, I showed up a little late.
Oh, Aster and Jess still haven't gone.
Okay, I'll go ahead and pass to Aster.
Hi, I'm Aster. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a self-employed bookkeeper.
All right, and Jess. If you are on, you might have also stepped away. You might have done the thing that I do, which is I put my headphones on and I'm totally listening, but I'm muted because I'm not in front of my computer.
Both of those things, but I'm also working on site doing a clean out right now. So I'm going to be a
Oh,
silent partner today because I'm in the garage boxing up gross stuff.
oh, fun. Okay, well, I'm gonna leave you to that then.
All right. But I am Jess with Big Rocks Organizing, and I'm doing an estate clean out right now.
All right. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but here's my AI transparency statement. AI was used in preparing this presentation to format notes and locate reliable sources. I love it for a good source link. AI was not used to create graphics. Caveat, as far as I know, because I have licensing for stock photos. And as far as I know, they are actual photos. AI was also not used to provide any text or copy. Everything that I wrote in here is my own. So just kind of a what do we mean when we're talking about AI in this session? We're seeing two forms of AI. We're seeing large language models. Those are probably most familiar with ChatGPT, in the non-image creation side of it. Um, all language models are a form of generative AI. Not all forms of generative AI are language models. Generative AI is going to be something like creating images. Um, there's some coding there. I think of it more as large language model is um, learning from and providing data to provide text outputs. Generative AI is creating something with AI. And I'm so sorry. I know everybody just went off camera and went on mute. But I wanted to, this is just going to be a conversation. Anyone who wants to pitch in can pitch in, anyone who wants to just hang out. But I wanted to kind of get a feel of um, where everybody is and what they've heard about AI, what brought you to the session, what are your concerns about ethical AI? What do you think is kind of a vague, it could be for or against. It could be, I don't really like it. It could be, I use it all the time. Um, no judgment here. Again, this is not conversation to encourage you to use AI. It's just to have the conversation.
Charlie, I'm happy to share a little bit.
Absolutely.
I just got out of business with a technical project manager, and she swears up and down by AI. And when I approached, like, let's add AI into our working agreements and our principles and whatnot, the place we finally landed was there's a time and a place for it, and as soon as there's money, it's not. Whether it's being as soon as you can hire the human to do the thing is when AI is no longer appropriate. But that leaves so many openings for people's work to still be scrubbed, and like, oh, so many things that are still the things that concern me. I try to use it now very similar to what you just proposed there, as like
Mhm.
finding sources and thinking through things, and very rarely pulling over the words. But there still are a lot of general ethical fears about this data going out there that I have.
Yeah. Hey, Byron, welcome. I know you just joined. We're just having kind of a group chat right now about what you've heard about AI that you might want to have updated or you might want to fact check or you've just heard what you think about it. Brandon really had a good chat about um, how it's being used in the organization, and then concerns. We're just having a little bit of an open chat here.
And I heard I heard something really cool a while ago. AI will not replace you. Someone using AI will. And I thought that was kind of neat. I've been leading a team of folks, and I have some of my team who are very hesitant and nervous about AI using it, and others that are tapping in. I did find a program called Lindy AI that has been hugely helpful at tying a lot of programs together. Just as an example, when someone visits our website, morellinc.com, it pulls in information through RB2B. It creates a Slack automatically, and then that Slack tells my team who is visiting. It shows their LinkedIn information. It then automatically creates a lead in Zoho, our CRM, so that we can actively go and chase them if they're not a contact. It also tells us whether or not it's a current client. If it is a client, it tasks the correct sales owner that someone has reached out to our website. They're interested in something, go reach out to them. So I think there's a lot of power and human tasks that takes quite some time. It's a lot more automated and can and save a lot of time for me and my team.
Mhm. Awesome. Do you have any concerns about it? Do you all feel like you've kind of got I know there's a lot of organizations that are saying, "Oh, we have to have some sort of a policy about AI." Um, do you feel like you all kind of have that figured out, or you're still kind of working on it?
I like Brandon's comment. in the chat when you get a message from AI, it feels so icky. I absolutely
Hmm.
agree, and I ask my team to refrain from using AI to craft messages. It's so easy to tell when it's AI crafted. The use of dashes is a sure tell sign, and then also every email that starts with "I hope this email finds you well." Drives me insane. But fears of AI, I have some fears. I try to set them aside personally, and dive in as much as possible so that I'm not left behind.
Hmm. Byron posted in chat. Um, some familiarity, my team and I researching if there's a place to use LLM and experimenting with it. I follow AI news personally. Not the world's biggest fan, but curious if LLMs could support large data set analysis. Environment, flood of lower quality work. Yeah, those are all. And I love anytime, Byron, I love anytime anyone says, Ed, here's what I'm reading about it. So Byron provided a link to an LA Times article. Um, Oregon Pride in Business, one of the two concerns: environmental damage, degradation of cognitive powers. Oof, that's a big one. Brandon, yeah, where was the human? Anybody else? Anyone else want to pitch in? And feel free, as people are doing, feel free to post in chat or come off mute and chat about it.
I'll share something. I have been using AI mostly because I have found that I am not particularly great at communication in the sense that I come off as very robotic and direct, and that can be very jarring for people. And ironically, AI has made me sound more like a person than a robot. So I kind of use it as almost like a translation layer to communicate more effectively to get like my thoughts and feelings across correctly while also like not triggering people in different ways. But
Mhm.
I also do agree, like, yeah, it's not great for the environment. But I think one of the things I've been understanding recently is it's really not the AI, it's more about the companies that own it. They're not being responsible with it. And if we are somehow able to afford doing it locally instead of on like big servers, we might be better off and it wouldn't be as harmful to the environment and whatnot. So that's kind of like the thought process I've been having. But yeah, mostly I use it for just crafting responses and communication and checking for like, is this person saying what they actually mean, or is this, am I supposed to be reading between the lines on something that I can't normally grasp myself? That sort of thing.
I love that you mentioned how it's helped you with communication. I feel like I have the opposite problem in that I want so badly for you to understand me that I'll say it in like five different ways in the same email. And I have used AI where I have said very carefully, and we'll get into that. Um, could I say this in like two sentences? Could I be a lot more direct in this email? Am I not wasting people's time, but worried that I'm maybe not being as efficient as I could be? And so I have also used kind of the flip side of that to help me shape just what you said here already means what you meant to say. You don't
Hmm.
need to say it again three more times.
Yeah, I have a tendency to, I don't think my stuff comes off as very AI generative because I go through it like 20 times to make sure that it's like actually ends up being more of my thoughts and feelings on stuff, and then I end up removing a lot of like those dashes and other like weird very clearly AI
Mhm.
stuff. So it definitely, I hope at least it comes off more like a person by the end of it, and it's very very curated towards like what I'm actually trying to say, and I try to make it sound more like me. It's just that I have a hard time getting thoughts on paper to begin with, so it's a really good step for me to be like, okay, what am I actually trying to say that isn't just like a list of stuff that with like very, very short lists that are not really detailed enough for anybody to get anything real out of the conversation. So that's kind of where how I start and how I finish it.
Yeah. Arpid points out, as a solo staff person, AI wildly increases my productivity. Very true. Anybody else?
I would just clarify and add on. I think that the communication tools and the getting to process thoughts is often pretty valuable. When I'm referencing the messages from AI, I'm meaning the blind message that I get from a stranger on LinkedIn who says that they
Mhm.
like these words that are from my website, and their friend pointed them out to me. It's like, no, none, you're not even real.
No, no, they didn't.
Even like a virtual assistant who pretends to be a person. Like any time the AI is pretending to do the thing a human did, I don't mind if a robot did it. Just tell me that a robot's doing it.
Mhm.
I agree. I feel like people trying to use AI to sound like and pretend to be a person is weird and not very clear. And I'd rather just people be clear as well. So I completely agree with that, Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely. I see we have Laura joining here. Anyone else before we move on? Again, like we've got plenty of time to have a conversation to talk about this. This is in fact the structure that I wanted this to be. Laura, no worries. We're just kind of answering the three questions here. People are talking a little bit about like what they've heard, what they think about AI, whether or not they're using it, concerns that they have. We're just having kind of an open discussion time right now. Okay. Anybody else? All right. So let's talk about it. Um, we, I don't think anybody here is trying to move on from the origins of AI, regardless of how we're using it now. We know that AI has its sources in a lot of unethical behavior. We know IP theft, all the training that it did. So we're talking creative things that people posted online. I have heard the argument, well, if you didn't want somebody to steal it, why did you post it online? Which feels really silly to me. Um, but also there's this acceptance of we didn't know this was coming. There is a level of, even if we wanted to take personal blame for some reason about that, like who predicted this when people were posting content that they were sharing, that they were advertising themselves, artists, creatives, all of these spaces that require visibility. Um, there's still this lack of consent. Nobody asked us to have our data, our intellectual property stolen. Nobody asked us to have our data mined. So that argument, I feel, only gets so far. Um, Interesting ones that we've come into is built-in biases. We already know that we have a lot of biases in our systems. We have a lot of colonialism, colonization. We have a lot of white supremacy, speaking specifically to the US. I mean, we are built on um, the colonization and the exploitation of people of color. We have and we have kind of repeated this. Um, Language models have learned bad behavior. I don't know if everybody's heard about the Twitter bot that was turned loose on Twitter back when it was still Twitter. to just learn from people and then interact with them. And I believe they took it down 48 hours later or something like that because it had turned into a racist bot. It was learning from the environment that was the most vocal. We have seen this with AI that is scanning resumes. We have seen it start to show a strong bias towards very European sounding names. And that is built into a lot of models. And so if they're just left unmonitored, unshaped, we see this reinforcement of bias, not because technology without that human input is biased, but because humans are. Worker exploitation has been a really interesting one that I think is a very, very um, kind of known, but also very not known in the work that has to be done to qualify data. To say yes, when AI is labeling this as an elephant, it is in fact an elephant. Part of that worker exploitation that people don't necessarily talk about is the images that workers are forced to see. There's a lot of trauma around that. Um, all of that is part of training the AI model. A lot of these workers are offshore. I would say the vast majority of them are offshore, unless it is a niche model that are being exploited. They are being, paid pennies. There's a lot of modern day slavery around um, AI, around LLM training. And then, of course, we all know about the environmental impact. There has been a huge, I don't know what the balance is between unanticipated and people who just didn't care. Um, Shift in not just energy use, electric use, but I mean, we were even talking about rare metals, mining, because of the components that are needed for the chipsets and the memory that are needed to run AI data centers. So, this is, if we want the whole picture of AI, there is information that we have to come with terms on its origin. Um, and I don't think we can really have a conversation about ethical AI use today if we don't recognize AI's origins. All of that to say that AI is not the criminal here. The technology is the tool, and remembering that the people that made these choices to do these things are are still humans. And for better or for worse, AI doesn't exist without humanity. So now that we've spoken to the doom and gloom of things, um, let's talk about what things look like moving forward. There is a number out there for a while that was it costs a bottle of water for every query that's run, and I've seen that get repeated. Um, it's it's kind of true and extremely outdated. The way that they were measuring it at that time may have been the case. Newer AI models are being significantly um, more efficient. They are using a lot less water and electric. We have some of these. We're talking about local models. We have um, providers now that are providing sustainability reports. A big part of water usage is where is the water being pulled from, and is there enough? So there's, for some reason, there have been some data centers that are getting built like out in the desert. Those are going to be really, really, really hard to run ethically because water is already at such a shortage. Water that is being used, just to give people a little bit at the back end, water is primarily used in these data centers for cooling. and if it's done appropriately, gets evaporated and returned to the environment. Um, Inappropriately can be things where hot water, because again, it's pulling the heat out, hot water is returned to a river where 1 to 2 degrees can make a big difference in the well-being of the environment of the river. So environment, there's some flexibility there. We have flexibility around, are we taking maybe non-potable water? Would be a wonderful way. Water that can't be consumed anyway, use that to cool, return it through a filtering system, return it back to the environment. Uh, Not building data centers in the desert is a great start. Some places have started shifting that where they're taking wind power and they're using wind cooling instead of water cooling. It is less efficient, but if your choice is a very windy spot where you can leverage that versus very little water, wind is the better way to run things. So starting to look at these providers who are putting out sustainability reports, who are building constitutions. Everybody's familiar with ChatGPT. Is anyone familiar with Claude? Kind of. So, thank you. Yeah. So, ChatGPT, Claude is the uh, Claude is the LLM as well as ChatGPT. Those um, parent companies are OpenAI and Anthropic. I always forget how to say their name. But basically, what happened with Claude is that the developers of ChatGPT were all the same group of people. And as they saw this happening and exploding, and kind of, there was a group of people that kind of recognized the impact that this was going to have. And so then there was a splinter in OpenAI, and that splinter went on to create Claude. Now that's still a very large model, and I don't have current data on their energy usage, but I know that they have done things like they have a constitution. They have Claude is very well respected for going and getting information when you want quality research data. That's something that an LLM doesn't always recognize. Still has its roots, as all of these do, in these unethical sources, but we are seeing companies moving towards ethical models. We are also seeing smaller models. We are seeing options to have just a local LLM that you have in your office, to set it up yourself, to be a little more niche on where it's useful and where you can leverage it and where it's just unnecessary. So we have an interesting checklist that we can use. And I know this is a little bit of the everybody's got the communication around. Yeah, yeah, I know, Brandon. I probably need to have you help me with my acronym. It's not very good. Help me with my languaging. Can you tell that I didn't use AI to figure this out? Because it would be catchier if I did. Um, so it's a little bit like everybody, we get frustrated sometimes with the how important it is for individuals to recycle when we have so much waste happening by these large corporations. Yes, that's true, and it's still important for us to recycle. And kind of the same movement here with responsible AI use and ethical AI use is partly because it creates a culture of responsibility. It begins to create a culture of calling irresponsible companies out, and and we'll talk to that about that a little bit here, leveraging what sells, what makes money. So several questions to ask yourself before you use AI. And these are all prefaced with, is it? Is it necessary? Is it private? Is it efficient? Is it necessary? Um, we chatted about that a little bit earlier, where it was I can write an email and I could send it off and it would be fine, or I could send it off and it would be challenging to read. And so I can run it through a quick check. Um, what you deem necessary is so up to you. That's not something where I could come in and say, you should never run it this way. You should only ever do it this way. These are all questions for you to come to terms with how you are going to interact with AI if you're going to do it. Um, things like having AI tell you what a math problem result is when you could just use the calculator app on your phone. Um, so really thinking about, do I need AI for this? And that's not to discourage you, but it is to stop and think. Two really big one is it private? This one I would say is a little easier to define. Um, if you are putting in uh, if you're putting in a request for some information between these two organizations, have you anonymized that information? Are you uploading email addresses? Are you uploading details that are detailed enough that someone could figure it out? Because if they can, that's one thing that LLMs are really good at is pattern recognition. If you think you post this online and somebody could figure out who you're talking about, then an LLM probably could. Is it efficient? So we've got a little bit of power on how we query a language model. And this can be done a couple of ways. You can ask for information. Has anybody used the interface where you ask a ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you're using, and then have you seen the little stop button that you can push? I guess Brandon's the only one on camera, so he's the only one that's nodding. Yeah, okay, thank you, Ty. I appreciate you. So all of your major models have a way to stop the the LLM from continuing. And so everybody's heard the term query. We've heard that, oh, it takes a water bottle for every query. Query is not the same as a question. So if you ask ChatGPT a question and you get an answer, that might feel like one query. But ChatGPT, and I'm just using them as an example because they're the one we're most familiar with, is going and putting in multiple queries often. The more complex the question is, or the more you ask it to do, typically the more queries it's going to have to make, and the longer it's going to take. If you realize that that language model is clearly taking this way more seriously than you meant them to, you can stop, see what it has so far, and see if there's a way that you can narrow down your question so that it has to go through less searching to find answers or to get those results. So, an example of that might be maybe I want an article from a medical journal. Well, I could say all the medical journals, or I could just pick one like Harvard Medical Journal. I trust them, they're pretty well peer reviewed. I can kind of help that model narrow the scope of what it's looking for. If I know that I would be happy with 3 or 4 articles and I can trace the studies and all of that, I don't need it to look through every single medical journal out there. So thinking about how you're asking questions can really, really impact just the amount of energy that is being used for every answer you get. And then kind of rolling into that, is this information verified? You can go in and tell your model, whatever model you're using, on the back end, you can tell it, hey, every time you send me something, I want you to send me a link to an article. Now, full disclosure, That's going to make it less efficient. But also, we know that AI will hallucinate answers to you. So it's easier for the model to make stuff up, but it's still made up. So kind of a combination of efficient and verified. And that's where shaping that traffic or shaping that question can really come into play. Is it fair? This is such a big one right now, you all. Everybody who has been in the job market in the past three at least years has been dealing with AI is scanning your resume. And you might not be that resume might not ever see a person's pair of eyes. Um, recognizing what we spoke to before with the bias that is built in. Now, who am I excluding? If I'm using this tool to scan for information, what are the studies that it's finding? Are they, is the data pool appropriately mixed, or is it very one-sided? Um, am I, what am I using this tool to do, and how has it treated people? Fair kind of gets us also just into that data worker exploitation. Look at what that model you're doing. How are they reporting this? What is their community? What does their community engagement look like? What is their and we'll drop down into transparency now, kind of organically, but how transparent are they being about their energy usage? About what are they doing to make sure that people are being treated fairly? What are they doing to take care of the environment? So fair kind of rolls into all of that, and then transparent is both them and you. So for those who are here at the beginning of this, I had an AI disclosure statement, and it was that and pardon me, I'm just going to try to remember it off the top of my head. AI was used to help me format notes and help me find resources. And it was not used to create any of this. All of the graphics have been licensed stock photos, and it was not used to create any of the content. So transparency both around how you are using AI, and how the AI models that you use, those parent companies, how are they giving back to the environment? How are they giving back to the people that they hire to qualify the data? So that was a whole bunch of information. It's time for discussion and questions. So kind of like what we had before, even if this is just a chat back and forth, or if it's questions about specific things, at this point, I'm kind of just opening it up to you all.
Hi.
Hi, Brandon.
Charlie, I'd be curious to hear about what you've seen or what maybe is being experienced on a larger scale around human washing or virtue signaling of having the disclaimer at the beginning. Like, is this something that people are all taking seriously, or is this something that is almost becoming performative, or that you've seen any performative nature of?
I It's honestly still been pretty rare.
Yeah.
So I think when I do see it, I tend to believe it because it's not it's not happening that often. I had an actual mentor who owned the company that I worked at previously, and they had been saying, and I mean, you want to talk about a proponent of AI. AI just blew their mind. It was so cool. And they're very new tech, new gadget oriented. And they put out a post on LinkedIn the other day that says, you all have seen me say for, 3, 4 years that AI doesn't take jobs. And I can't say that anymore. Um, I understand where they're coming from. I also don't believe that AI takes jobs. I believe people take jobs. Never underestimate a capitalist company's willingness to put out a crappier product.
Mhm.
Um, but they're they're just now getting to the point, having experienced it themselves as a writer, they're just now getting to the point where they're putting, I don't use AI to create my content. But that's so personal to them because they were directly impacted by having traffic drop on their content because nobody was reading it because they could just get it through AI. So I think it will be at some point, and that's going to be our responsibility to kind of know our sources and know the people that are saying that. Um, Virtue signaling can happen in so many ways. So yeah, it would be a little bit of how is that? How is the rest of your behavior matching what you're saying?
Mhm. I have another question too, but I want other people to have a chance.
Anybody else? Come off mute, chat with us. I'm not going to pressure anybody. I'm gonna side eye you and strongly encourage you, but I won't pressure you. Well, Brandon, I think you should just go. Nobody's coming off mute, so
Well, my other question is kind of a clarification and then follow up. When you say local, you're meaning tech talk local, meaning on site, not nearby, right?
kind of a combination of both. So when I say local, you can have it tech talk when something is locally hosted. Generally, those words are run together
Yeah.
to mean that we have a server on site, we have a database on site. A really, really good version of that would be, say, a legal office where they have a closed system. They have all of the case files that they have done. They might have an expanded system for their case files for their state. That would probably be a separate service. And then their paralegals are whipping out. I don't know if anybody has ever known or worked as a paralegal before. Oof, that is a brutal job. And AI has been something that has potentially made life a lot easier for paralegals with those really, really strong guardrails. Rails. It is not allowed to make up anything. It is only allowed to be used to index that content. So usually locally hosted is on site. I would expand local in this case to maybe even be regional, or you have just intentionally very small, like I said, like the legal office. You have industry specific types of LLMs. I don't know that I would call those local as much as niche, but you have the some of those you have the ability to actually take that model. Thank you,
I think
Ty.
I think even what I'm hearing is well, my follow-up question was how realistic is it that we're ever going to have that? And it's sounding like not, because for me to have a local AI, for Brandon to have a locally based AI thing, it would only be my stuff. Like there'd be it's not internet, it's an intranet. Am I hearing that it's more of a bigger at scale thing?
Yeah. So the the challenges that you are going to have running a local intranet are one, well, you already know what you know. So having that to help organize your own thoughts are kind of um, so the compromise that we end up with is somewhere in the middle. Maybe it doesn't make sense for one. I don't have solar. I don't have wind. I'm just running household electric. If I throw a data server in here, my housemates are going to lose their minds. And I don't have a cooling system. So that scales, but it has to start at a certain scale. And so kind of the in between is just smaller, more niche models.
Am I hearing that then that like the future of AI is smaller and community based, not as global? Like in this hypothetical path that you've drawn, a future of AI.
I think it's a future of an eye. I think it's a little bit of side by side because we
Mhm.
also have to compare what big tech has done. Big
Mhm.
tech is still there. Big tech gets bigger, but then there is this resistance that you have. I just put out something not too long ago about Salesforce and their support of ICE and saying, hey, guess what? There are other CRMs.
Mhm.
So as these smaller, more niche CRMs get better taken care of because they're smaller, they actually compete because they are a niche product. And I think that's what I'm kind of just mocking up what tech is already doing. And I think what we have is this backlash of you've stopped caring about the consumer, or maybe you didn't care to begin with. It's all about money. It's all about the quarter. It's short-sighted because it's all about investors. And you don't actually care about the quality of product you're putting out. So I could spend money with you, or I could go spend money with this niche product that has stayed small on purpose, cares about their quality, cares that their model is not hallucinating things, has put a really strong um, constitution in place, and I'm going to work with them instead. So for most of us, it doesn't make sense to have a
Mhm.
local, like on-prem
Right.
server. Um, but we have options, and we are starting to see
Mhm.
this as the bigger bubble of AI is tremoring. We're starting to see these smaller organizations come out and say, look, we can do this, but we can do it right.
How do we find those? And this is for like for everybody. This is the big question. How do I find those? Because if I search, I see a sponsored post before anything else, and so somebody's paid
Mhm.
for it. Or I don't know that there's an AI solution to my problem until it shows up in front of me. Or how do I find one that has all the services I need rather than buying 15 different ones? Like, how do I go about finding these smaller niche services?
So one of the first things I would recommend is if you're getting sponsored results in your browser, have a really good ad blocker that blocks those. And I could totally make a recommendation if y'all want to email me. It's free. It's just here's what I use. Um, because that does help filter out the big money. It's yeah, I can come first in your Google search because I have all the money. Um, Second is to look at, I would start with somebody big. I would start personally when I'm looking for quality stuff. I would start with Claude because Claude is the biggest one out there that has a really healthy constitution. Um, and honestly, I would use AI to find other AI models. Like
Are there
use
any, is there any suppression in their answers?
um not not if the Constitution is not allowing it. Now
Mhm.
again, we're still
Right.
kind of putting faith in what people say.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm really at this point it's challenging. There are ways that you could do a private search. It's a little bit challenging. A lot of us use Google to search. It's a large tech product.
And
We
is
already
using AI
know.
now.
We already know that they're using that. We already know that they are shaping traffic to promote whoever's giving them the most money. Um, and so you kind of both have some and also get away from some of that bias.
Hmm.
Um, you also have the opportunity to work with somebody who does what I do, which is literally helping you find that stack, helping you find those tools.
How many small businesses who don't know that we even need tools? How do you get through to us?
How do I tell you that you need tools?
Yeah,
How
how do
do
you
I
even get
find
us
you?
at the table? Because I want to like there's so many things that I wonder what could be better.
it's really slow because it relies on relationships. It relies on trust. It relies on these. A big thing that we have seen is what ORPIB does. The chambers, the small, the peer-to-peer information and kind of that trusted, a human told me that something works for them. A little bit of that is organizational networking. It's getting involved with ORPIB. It's going to chambers of commerce, wherever you're going to find those other small business owners and entrepreneurs and professionals, because somebody has done some niche research in that area and somebody else has done some niche research in a different area. So we're crowdsourcing. We're becoming our own search engine basically, but um, it's a higher quality search engine. So that's what I do when I'm getting out and doing sessions like this, talking to people. Um, it's yeah, AI is never going to replace the face-to-face connection that we need. And so, whether or not you choose to use AI, um, feel free to reach out with questions. Feel free to connect with fellow entrepreneurs. Ask people what they're using. Have conversations. Talk about it. What have they found? I do have somebody who I am trying to get in to a Thrive in Business session who knows a lot more about AI than I do. This is me just kind of trying to have a session where we're thinking about it and talking about it. Dominic is one, but this is not somebody who's a member. I've been working on him for a while, and he does automation, and I'm going to do we're going to be doing an event here coming up this year. So he's got a nice kind of a combination of you don't need AI to use automation. You can still automate and streamline your systems and not
Mhm.
use AI doing it. Um, I was going to say thank you too, but they left. I do see your messages in chat. I'm on like three different screens right now. So yeah. Any other questions? Anybody? Okay. So that's it. That's my wrap up. Feel free to stay and chat with me. I'm gonna be here until 12:59, unless everybody else just leaves. Um, in which case I'm not gonna sit in the empty Zoom room. But yeah, if you do want to reach out, this is my contact information. If you want to talk more about it, if you want to stay in touch, get connected with me. I'm gonna have a newsletter that's coming out here. Hopefully in the next month, y'all. Um, I'm working on it. And I'm gonna have little tidbits and tricks and things like this, things that I learn about technology in an individual or small organization level, not a larger organization level. Or just shoot me an email. Laura, thank you so much for asking. As soon as I get it, I will let you know. For now, if you just want to email me, or you can follow me on LinkedIn. I am so sorry, you all. I just realized I don't have my Instagram on here. The business, if you look for Break Free Technology Consulting, the business has an Instagram. You can follow me on LinkedIn, and both of those places will have the notification